Today I got probably one of the craziest story times I received in a while for you guys. I know you're going to enjoy it, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted this story, let's call him Caleb. So Caleb is the subscriber who submitted this story, but there are two more characters I need to briefly introduce. One, we're going to call Ava, and all you need to know is, Ava is fairly mild-mannered, at least in class. She has pretty good grades, and she doesn't really, speak out of class, do anything too edgy or whatever. And Ava has a boyfriend who is just in another class, because this story, which is completely crazy, takes place during a history class, and Ava's boyfriend is not in the history class. There's also one more guy who we're going to call Ben, and Ben is kind of known as a massive jerk. So this all happened one day when Caleb, the subscriber, was in history class, and they had a pretty big presentation that they had to do in front of the entire class. And the assignments of partners were completely randomized, so Caleb was partners with some random guy. However, they did a pretty good job, at least Caleb says this, and, they did pretty well at the presentation. They both did what they needed to do. However, right, Ava and Ben were also randomized as partners, and while Ava probably wasn't that happy with it, she assumed that they had, that they did something correctly, right? And they were partners, so they had to present together, whatever. They were just going to get it over today anyways. So Caleb was sitting down in his seat, and Ben, a kid who he talked to every once in a while, but Caleb just kind of sees him as a jerk, but, whatever. He's just nice to everyone. Caleb comes up to Ben, and he sits down, or Ben comes up to Caleb. He's like, dude, Caleb, you're not going to believe what's about to happen. And Caleb's like, dude, Ben, what are you talking about? And Ben's like, bro, I'm not going to spoil it, but let me just say that you're going to be wanting to record the presentation Ava and I are about to do today. And Caleb was like, okay, Ben, I don't know if I'm going to record something in class, but, I'll pay attention, man. You got my interest at least, I can tell you that. So Caleb was kind of intrigued at this point, but he had no idea what was about to hit him, right? So anyways, Ben and Ava, they go up to the front of the room and they start their presentation. And it's a pretty normal presentation. They were all doing important topics in history, and they were just covering something. And Caleb was kind of starting to space out a little bit, right? Kind of starting to space out. Another important detail is that the teacher wasn't really judging you on how well you presented it. He was judging you on the presentation material itself, and you submitted the presentation to him via Google Docs or Drive or email or whatever earlier in the day. So the teacher actually stepped out of the classroom for a little bit, and he instructed the kids, all right, the list of groups are on the board. Just present to your classmates in this order. I'll be back. So while Ben and Ava were presenting, the teacher was out of the room, which is why some of the nonsense that's about to go down was allowed to happen. So anyways, Caleb is kind of not paying attention. He's kind of just like, all right, whatever, fine. This is kind of boring. I know Ben came up to me and said that this was going to be crazy and that I needed to be around to see this, but I don't really see the point of all this. And that's until Ben got to the final slide. This, I'm going to say is strap in for this one, because Ben is like, oh, and by the way, we have a special bonus slide at the very end. And Ava looked at Ben with this kind of look of what are you talking about? Because, Ava had no idea that Ben had prepared this special final slide. And let me just say, if I was Ava, I would definitely not approve this, as you guys will probably shortly see. And so sure enough, Ben is like, all right, guys, strap in for this one. And Ben goes to a secret final slide, because the whole thing had been done on his computer. Basically, Ava and Ben had worked on this project together, and they kind of approved a final version. However, the final version was one that Ben altered with a very secret final slide. And on when Ben shifts over to the final slide, Caleb is now paying attention because, Ben said, all right, guys, I got a special thing for you. And he was told by Ben earlier, and I bet Ben went around to all the other kids and was like, pay attention to my presentation, that something interesting was going to happen. So Ben looks up and he sees at the screen, and he's really confused at first because it's a screen full of text message screenshots. And Caleb is like, or not Caleb, sorry, that's a subscriber. Ben's like, boys, take a look at this. And it is screenshots of Ava and her boyfriend's intimate text messages, but not just normal stuff like, hey, like, I can't wait to see you, love you, whatever, normal stuff like that. It is like, how do I say this? It's like very intimate text messages, ones that you definitely wouldn't want to be read aloud in front of the entire class. And some of them were kind of embarrassing in that nature. I don't want to go into specifics. I'm going to let your just evil imaginations take charge right now and just run away with this and think of whatever you're going to think of. But yeah, let me just say that they were incredibly embarrassing, and they were not text messages that at least I would want my entire class to see personally. And Ben starts reading them out, and Ava had no idea what was like happening. She didn't even realize what the text messages were. At first, she just kind of assumed that Ben wanted to have a little slide at the end with some funny internet memes. Until Ben started reading out the messages, Ava's face completely dropped about halfway through one of the conversations Ben was reading out, because she started to recognize that, oh my God, these are my private personal text messages with my boyfriend, and the embarrassing ones. So apparently, right, Ben must have, like, when Ava and Ben were working together, Ava must have gone to the bathroom or for some reason left her computer unattended. And Ben, of course, being the not so great individual he is like, oh, well, the computer's unattended, therefore I'm allowed to just go through it or whatever. And, so Ben was in the process of completely embarrassing Ava, right? But apparently, right, Ava was not going to take this sitting down. Ava was kind of known as the very nice, the she'll never fight back type girl. But yeah, Ava was about to break this stereotype. Because Ava's boyfriend and Ben used to be very close. They used to be very close friends. But Ava's boyfriend kind of realized that Ben was kind of a jerk, and also when he started spending more time with Ava, that was kind of like an excuse for him to kind of wind down the friendship in kind of a way, like kind of just wind down the friendship, make it less so, kind of an excuse to stop being friends with Ben, because he'd been friends with him since he was like, 7, a little kid or whatever, and now he's like, oh wow, this guy's actually a massive jerk. And the thing is, right, that means Ava's boyfriend knew a lot about Ben, including his secrets. And because Ava and her boyfriend were so close, Ava's boyfriend told Ava these things, and Ava would have never said this thing out loud, right? But just because she had the opportunity, and just because Ben decided to embarrass her in front of everyone, Ava blurts out, Ben watches special anime. Guys, so there's anime. It's a type of cartoon, but there's a type of anime, right, that is not something that you'd want, it's not something you'd sit down with the family and grandma and dog and mom and dad and watch it together. Oh God, you would not do that. It's a very special type of anime that I don't get it. You can like what you like, but let me just say that if you put on a PowerPoint presentation for class, you'd be suspended immediately, is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, Ava blurts this out, and Ben is like, what are you talking about, Ava? Stop trying to cope with the fact that I'm destroying you so hard, because of the slide with all the private text that, Ben kind of took from her. And Ava's like, well then, what if I do this? And so the thing was, right, the computer was still attached to the slide, like the screen share or whatever, right? Because Ben was showing off his PowerPoint presentation. And Ben had kind of stepped away from the computer. So Ava, who was pretty smart, she's pretty quick-witted with this, went over, opened up Google Chrome, typed in H, and let me just say, it was game over for Ben, man. It was legitimately game over for Ben. Real quick, comment, what should you guys comment today? Comment class down below, like history class, and I will heart your comment as is the secret word of the day. And also, thanks for letting me take a break yesterday. If you want to help me get back into the algorithm, just binge watch some videos after this, and please let me know if you binge watch like 3, 4, 5, whatever videos after watching this one, or maybe later in the day. Tell me in the comments so I can say thank you personally. Anyways, let's get back to the story. So basically, right, Ava's being up to this point, Ben has a whole slideshow presentation at the very end of their slideshow of all the intimate text messages Ava had with her boyfriend, completely embarrassing her in front of the entire class. And the motives are kind of unclear, but maybe Ben was mad that like his best friend from back in the day is now spending time with Ava, and also Ben was just a jerk. Ava knows something about Ben, which, I mean, isn't like, it's not like a terrible thing, right? But it's not something you want like your entire class to know, right? And she blurts out, Ben watches insert special anime, right? That you're not going to watch with your family is what I'm trying to say. And Ben was like so taken aback that Ava like quickly thought to herself, maybe he still has a website in his browsing history. Maybe he didn't use private browser, whatever. So she whips up Google Chrome, types in H, and sure enough, Ben was not smart enough to clear his browsing history / just use, I don't know, man, just kind of use like private browsing window. So now the entire classroom sees that the first thing, the pre-save in the computer, is basically bookmarked. It's been visited so much. It's a website that has this special anime. And the entire class is just going crazy because it is a showdown. First of all, Ben comes in, boom, with a right hook right into Ava's face with a photo of all of her intimate text messages. And then Ava, boom, kick to the nuts with this revelation and proof. So at this point, the entire class is like, we haven't had a WWE SmackDown like this in years. This is freaking crazy. Everyone's going insane. And the teacher walks back in. He's like, what is going on here? And the entire class is like, yo, it's crazy. And the problem is, right, I don't think anyone would have said anything. But Ben is like, Ava just did something super inappropriate. And Ava's like, Ben broke my privacy. This is ridiculous. And the teacher's like, Ava, Ben, step out here. And he's like, I need to figure out what's going on. So he looks around the classroom and he points at Caleb. Sorry, I have the name Nathan written down for the story I posted like 2 hours ago. He points at Caleb, the subscriber. He's like, you're not in trouble, but I need you to come out here and tell me exactly what happened. So Caleb gets up. And at this point, right, Caleb is just like, all right, well, I don't really have any allegiances to either Ben or Ava, so I guess I'm just going to say, like, what happened. Like, I really don't have any reason not to. So Caleb gets up, and Ben and Ava are standing in the hallway, and they're kind of yelling at each other when the teacher gets out there. And the teacher's like, both of you, go to the principal's office, sit there, and just like, I got to figure out what's going on. So the two of them walk away. And the teacher just looks at Caleb, and he's like, Caleb, I need you to tell me what happened. But also, I need you to tell me if you're going to be biased in favor of either of them. And so Caleb said, well, I mean, I'm friendly with Ben, but I also kind of think of him as a jerk, and I don't know Ava at all. I'm just going to tell you what happened. I don't really care what happens to either of them, if I'm being honest. And the teacher's like, all right, well, that's probably best. So Caleb goes on to say, well, Ben told me that this presentation was going to be special, and I think he told a bunch of other kids, and it really wasn't special until the last slide, because apparently he had a secret slide at the end that he basically used to embarrass Ava. And he goes on to explain exactly what was on that slide. And the teacher's like, wow, that's pretty bad. Well, did Ava do anything? And Ben's like, well, yeah, Ava she didn't do nothing here. So he then goes on to say that Ava, he had to try and explain exactly what Ava accused Ben of watching. It was an awkward conversation, to say the least. He's like, oh, I have to explain to my teacher exactly what this special anime actually is, which was not his like favorite conversation of all time. And then, he goes on to say that, yeah, then Ava took his computer and checked his browsing history and found an example of him going to that website. So then everyone was freaking out when you walked in. And the teacher's like, wow, well, are you serious? Like, this is just a history class. And Caleb's like, yeah, man, like, I definitely was not expecting anything like this today. You could have told me that, like, in advance. Like, you could have gone to the future and told me this, but I just would have not believed you. And the teacher's like, wow, well, that's something. I'm going to go deal with this. Can you just tell everyone that I said to just keep going with the presentations? And let's just hope that nothing like this happens again. And Caleb's like, all right, man, I got you. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and watch another video only if you're cool.
Clicking the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.